Malcolm Turnbull, Prime Minister of Australia.
And they got a phone call saying their brother-in-law, who's also a Narromite, had committed suicide. And just to be there with his family and see that. People need you. It's worse than anything in the media you're seeing. It's far worse.
You're helping and we're helping.
Trying.
Give you a
And the Prime Minister joins me now. Thank you very much for your time. What's your response to what Edwina Robertson had to say just now?
Well, I spent a lot of time in the bush and I would like to spend more. Just in the last few months I've been in many parts of regional Australia, from Queensland, North Queensland, Western Queensland, Western New South Wales, the Upper Hunter Valley. Of course, Lucy and I have got cattle and sheep properties there and had there for 36 years, so we know firsthand, in a very real way, the impacts of drought on people in the livestock business. I've been in Tennant Creek, I'll be in Alice Springs this week, so it's a big country, and as Prime Minister I get around it. You'd be amazed, Lee, how many places I go to where I'm apparently the first Prime Minister to go there, or the first since Malcolm Fraser. So I don't know whether the two Malcolms are following a similar trail around the country.
What about her point that it's too little too late and that the...
And I thought this was interesting. Watch his hands when they do that shot.
It's too little
tap,
too
tap,
late.
tap. Dun, dun, dun. This would be my first clue that this is pretty scripted about what he just said. It is unclear if he knows the questions beforehand. I just assume that he does. Knowing media today, all questions are pre-done. He delivered it very well, and he was proud of himself. Tap, tap, tap.
And that the $12,000 is insufficient.
Well, it's not $12,000 by itself. This is the farm household allowance. Varies on people's family circumstances. But
he's doing a lot of jerky movements. He comes up and then he goes down. It's like a big jerk in the body. To me, that's an alarm bell. It's like something's not right if you're jerking that big.
Typically, it's about $15,000, $16,000 for a year. So we're adding for a family another $12,000 to that. So it's, as Fiona Simpson,
and he is very stiff on this.
President of the National Farmers Federation, has said it is a generous increase, it's a generous supplement, but it is designed to keep body and soul together. It's not designed, to pay for fodder. I mean, it wouldn't pay for it would be $12,000 would barely pay.
And he keeps changing position. Now he's got his arm up and angled. He's very uncomfortable. It's like he's trying to find a position where he can look authoritatively.
For a truckload of hay at the moment.
Why with the $12,000 have you decided to do it in two $6,000 instalments, the second in March? Because people are hurting now, and so money would help right now.
And they'll likely be hurting in March too, by the way. So this is it's going to be, we all pray for rain. We've had 16 mils of rain in the Upper Hunter.
He's very stiff at this point because it keeps going and he's constantly shifting position. And then he had the other big giant jerk. He's not spewing anything that says deception. I would say that the deception is by omission.
Just as your weatherman was showing, so that's terrific. But the prospect is that it's going to be a dry.
Yeah, he's being deceptive. I do believe that it's omission. He's not saying something that would be informative.
Spring and a hot, dry summer, so they'll need more support right through that period. And
he's also portraying.
Why not just give $12,000 now, and then if we are still in drought in March, more money then?
Well, that's the decision we've made. We met as a cabinet subcommittee to discuss that, and that's what we've done.
So we've got deception by omission. We've got portrayal. He's trying to manipulate you into believing and staying with his side. And he's put himself in a position that he believes makes him look authoritative. I'm the authority on this matter. I can tell you how it goes.
And manage for the dry times. Now, I just want to make two other points.
No, there's
Firstly,
a lot to get through,
livestock prices remain high and property prices remain strong.
She said that, and I was sitting there thinking, if you see between the two of them, she's got herself angled down in the neck and in the face, and you see him, he's sitting his head up and level. So he has taken the dominant position, which is why he's able to shut her down and let her know, I've got 2 more points. And she lets him because she's not a very strong interviewer.
I'll just make two other points.
No, there's
Firstly,
a lot to get through,
livestock prices remain high and property prices remain strong. So, there is a lot of strength and optimism in rural Australia, and what we're doing is backing Australian farmers in their resilience.
Now, you mentioned that Australia, has a history of periods of drought. You have noted that the current drought is of a severity and length that we've not seen for more than 50 years.
Yep.
What role does climate change play in that?
Look, I don't have any doubt the climate is changing, that
He gets away from that one. I don't have any doubt that climate is changing. I don't know why he got away from that, but he literally gets away from that question.
we're seeing at the moment. Now, people say the climate has always changed, of course. On the Earth, you can go, people point to the ice ages and various...
And then he claims more space as he goes on with this rhetoric. Yeah, this is constantly changing position, taking positions that make you look like you're the authority, being stiff, he's getting away from things that I wouldn't think he would get away from. Why would you get away from climate change? Why would you do that?
Well, Barnaby Joyce, the former Deputy Prime Minister, said on television this evening that no matter what Australia does to reduce its emissions, it's going to have zero impact on climate change, and therefore it will have zero impact on future droughts in Australia. What do you say to that?
Well, if Australia was the only country in the world that was reducing its emissions, he'd be right. But of course, the goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions is a global one, and as one nation out of many, we obviously play our part.
But I guess the point that he's making is essentially correct, though, isn't it? No matter what we did for emissions, it's not going to change the frequency or severity of droughts that happen in Australia.
Well, I'm not quite sure what point you're making or he was making, but let me be clear. Australia has always had a variable, volatile, sometimes capricious climate, if you like. We are, as the poet wrote, the land of droughts and flooding rains. The last the drought that was as bad and as widespread as this one in Eastern Australia was, according to the Bureau of Meteorology, in 1965. Now, I don't remember that one, but so it's been a long time. But in terms of the goal of reducing global greenhouse gas emissions in accordance with the Paris Agreement, every nation is playing its part, and our part, because we're only about 1.5%, I think, of global emissions or thereabouts, is obviously a small one. But if everybody took the view that they weren't going to do anything because their contribution doesn't make that much difference, then nothing had happened. So it's a global effort.
On emissions, you were trying to get the states to sign up to your National Energy Guarantee at a meeting this Friday. Are you prepared to increase Australia's emissions reduction targets to win the support of the states to come on board with your plan?
Well, what we are setting out is the plan of the Energy Security Board, which will reduce emissions in the electricity sector by 26% by 2030. But most importantly, it will reduce the average household's electricity bill by $550.
But what I'm asking is there any wiggle room in negotiations on Friday for you to raise those targets?
We have got a target. It's consistent with our Paris commitment, and this is all about cheaper electricity. Now, the pressure is on the state premiers and Bill Shorten, leader of the Labor Party. Does he want Australians to pay less for electricity or more? We want them to pay less. The National Energy Guarantee, so the experts say, you don't have to take my word for it or Josh's, it's the experts and the Energy Security Board have got it all modelled. It will reduce electricity prices. So my government is committed.
He's stiff throughout that whole thing. The whole thing. It's going to reduce energy prices. Let me take my position of authority, and I'm going to keep my head at you and stare you down. Do not question my logic. The experts said so. So I sit there and see him saying that, and I go, why would you be stiff? Other than if you're spouting what you're saying and you're trying to look authoritative on it and shut him down, is that he knows differently.
To cheaper, reliable electricity, and that's what the NEG will deliver.
You've got to get the plan through. The states are saying, or a couple of them this evening, that they want to see your plan go through and get the endorsement of your party room before they're willing to sign up for it.
Well, it's been endorsed by the party room already.
Well, they want to see that it goes through the party room next Tuesday before they'll agree to something.
Well, it's been endorsed by the party room already, and it'll be endorsed again. It's got absolutely overwhelming support because...
Okay, he's not even sure on that one. So he goes up, take my authority position. When you have to act like you're the authority on something, when it's just, well, it's already been. You don't have to act it out. It's just the fact. So you don't have to portray it. So when you see someone act it out and portray it, it means that there's doubts, that it may not be as you say. But seeing how his personality is going with this authoritative thing, I wonder what happens if you don't agree. Just thought, what happens if they don't agree? when you're dealing with that kind of personality.
Let's whip through some other things that people are likely to be talking about when Parliament resumes next week. Can you explain why you gave almost half a $500 million grant to the Great Barrier Reef Foundation without any tender process or grant application or competition?
Well, it was a very thorough process, a whole cabinet process leading up to the budget.
Before or after you offered the money, did the cabinet process?
No, it all went through beforehand. We had a whole ERC process. We concluded that we wanted to use the offer the GBRF, the Great Barrier Reef Foundation, which the Labor Party has given money.
But how did you settle on them? Because they said that they never asked for money.
Yeah, that's right. But they are an outstanding reef charity. They have had substantial money from the federal government before, including from a federal Labor government.
But we have to take your word on that because there wasn't a tender process.
Well, you don't have to take my word for it. It's a fact. Tony was...
Yeah, he's hiding. There's something there. He's hiding. This one makes him really uncomfortable. He's actually even going small. He's not even doing that, I'm the authority, let me take my position. He's brought his arms in. He's leaned down. He's still holding his head up, challenging her because she's a wimp. But he's hiding. Yeah, something fishy in that area. Get it? It's fishy in the coral reef.
The former Environment Minister, Burke, Tony Burke.
And now I'm going to pray for God to help me get out of this situation. All right, so he's put his hands together, he's gated, and he's brought them up to his chest. Literally like a prayer. Like, believe me, this is what we're doing. I'm gated. I'm controlling information in and out. Don't say anything that would go against or show my hand. But I'm bringing it up. Please. Begging you. It was all legit.
He provided, I think, $12 million to
But how do we know that for the use of this money, which is an enormous investment in the reef, how do we know that they are the best organisation to spend that $500 million?
Now we're back into the authority. I guess this is where he feels comfortable. Doesn't feel comfortable about the amount of money, but he feels comfortable enough to defend these people on why they're the best to have it.
Because that's the judgment we took as government.
If you like it, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.